When you are partnering with a digital marketing company, you're going to have a set management fee. A lot of companies require a longer term contract, and there are a lot of lawyers that are understandably skeptical of longer term contracts. But one of the things that you have to remember is that there is a lot of time and energy that has to be invested on the front end by the marketing company and by your law firm in order to achieve the results that you want with search engine optimization. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Crushing Chaos with Law Firm Mentor podcast, where today we're going to answer the question, between Google Ads and SEO, where's my ROI? All right, so let's dive in. So a lot of us here in the world of law firm leadership are asking ourselves more intelligent questions, especially as we start to experience economic constriction, right? We know that there's a lot of political unrest. There's a lot of challenges in our political landscape right now. And as a result of that, there's uncertainty in the air. And the more uncertainty there is in the air, the more people grow weary and fearful about spending money, regardless of what they're spending money on. Now, you would not know that from being out and about in these streets, especially if you're going out for amazing brunches here in lovely New Jersey, at least like I am, because I had to wait quite a few hours to get my brunch this morning on this lovely Sunday morning when I am recording this podcast. But we do know that there are economic indicators that suggest that people are more conservative with how they spend when there is a fear factor in the air. And one of the challenges that we as law firm leaders have is we have to decide where we're going to allocate our resources. And oftentimes we don't know where we should focus. There are always going to be different businesses, especially in the world of marketing, that will tell you my way of marketing is going to get you more traction than somebody else's way. So it's really important that you spend money here as opposed to there. And oftentimes your thought may be, I don't know if I can trust that because you have a financial interest in where I spend my money. So I'm not sure if it makes sense for me to spend it here versus there. Now, of course, ideally, you will optimize your strategy in each of the places that marketing is available to you so that you can have a both and mentality, right? You can spend money on Google Ads. You can spend money on search engine optimization. You can spend money on pay-per-click. You can spend money on e-newsletters and so on and so forth. But when we're just talking about the two major areas that most law firms are starting with and that most law firms will start with, especially when they are looking to grow, looking to scale their operations, looking to expand their lead flow in any given area, we typically start with search engine optimization and Google Ads. And for most people, for most law firm owners, you're not going to have unlimited funds to spend in either of these areas. So you start asking, which is better? Now, I hate to give you the lawyer's answer. You know it's coming, but the answer is simply, it depends, right? Depends on where you are with your lead flow. It depends on what you have coming in. It depends on how desperate you are for new clients. Depends on a host of things. But today, what I want to do in talking about this topic of where your ROI is to really give you some key areas to focus on, some areas to understand better so that you can become a better educated consumer of these two particular services, right? And so that you can know at any given point in your journey from where you are to where you desire to be in terms of growth of your law firm, where your resources are best spent. All right, so let's dive in. So the first thing you have to understand when you are evaluating whether to spend on search engine optimization or to spend on Google Ads is the cost structure, right? So when you are looking to partner with a company, and I do consider it a partnership, it is not a vendor relationship. Your marketing company is one of the most crucial vendors that you will ever hire as a law firm owner. And especially now with the significance of digital marketing, and it is significant even for people who are not lead generating online, right? For B2B companies that really have a very different buy cycle, right? We just had a series a while back on B2B versus B2C and how to differentiate that. But one of the things that is always going to be the case, no matter what type of business you have, is that people are researching online to understand the companies that they work with, to decide if you should be the one or if it should be someone else. So understanding that the importance of your website takes on a different meaning in today's digital landscape. And when we talk about growth of a law firm, your search engine optimization strategy also takes on a different significance. So first you have to understand structure of costs so that you can start to think about how you will spend money in this area. When you are partnering with a digital marketing company, you're going to have a set management fee. A lot of companies require a longer term contract, and there are a lot of lawyers that are understandably skeptical of longer term contracts. But one of the things that you have to remember is that there is a lot of time and energy that has to be invested on the front end by the marketing company and by your law firm in order to achieve the results that you want with search engine optimization. So if you haven't been in business that long, if you don't have a large library of digital assets, right? And we're going to have a show coming up pretty soon all about how to create a large library of digital assets, because that will really get you traction much faster when you are pursuing search engine optimization. But let's assume that you don't have that right now. And when you are newer to the digital world, meaning you might have had a website, but maybe you didn't have a lot of keywords on it, or maybe you didn't have a lot of information about your service that a search engine could scrub your website and understand you should be the recommended choice for people that are searching for your service near them. It is really important that understanding that there's going to be lead time. Some people say it's 6 months. Some people say it's 9 months. But whatever the time period is, you should not be thinking about search engine optimization as your go-to strategy when you are in desperate need of a new client tomorrow, right? Now, that's not to say that you should not keep in mind that search engine optimization is a necessary part of a cohesive and comprehensive marketing strategy for a law firm, because it is. Because ultimately, people are going to find you online. Even if they get to you through an ad, at some point, they're going to be on your website. They might be getting to an ad that takes them to a landing page, but they're going to have your company name. And I assure you, at some point, they're going to be Googling your company name, right? So the better built your website is, and the more likely your website is to be found when they search the keywords that relate to the service that they're seeking to hire out at that point in time, the better positioned you will be to be the choice for that particular consumer when they are looking to hire a lawyer. If you don't strategize around that, if you don't allocate resources for search engine optimization, that's not to say that you can't still be successful. You can absolutely be successful with Google Ads, but that place where you live online, that digital home online, if it's not a good home, if it's not a desirable place to invite in visitors, ultimately you're going to have fewer visitors, right? So you're going to undercut yourself by not having that part of your marketing strategy dialed in. But that is typically paid for with a monthly management fee, right? So think about it this way. If you're building out an annual budget, you want to think about an annual budget for your search engine optimization or your marketing company, right? That means, and many companies bundle the service of maintaining your website together with search engine optimization, because as people come and go from your law firm website, if you don't update that information, then you could be undercutting the efforts of the marketing company who's driving people to that website, right? Because if somebody goes looking for John Doe and John Doe is at your firm and then John Doe leaves your firm and you haven't taken John Doe off the website, then while yes, people are getting to your website, they're not going to take action, right? So you want to have accurate information there. And it's in the marketing company's best interest that not only is the information accurate, but that it's most likely going to lead to conversions. Because while they're selling you the opportunity to generate leads for you, they intellectually understand, as do you, that what you're really concerned with is new clients, right? You don't care whether you have 10,000 leads or you have 50 leads, as long as you have the 15 new clients a month that's required to meet your revenue goal, or however many new clients that is for you. Okay. So you need to be thinking about this from a cost basis perspective. Now, there are a lot of marketing companies that actually now do month to month under the premise that if you are happy with their service and they do a great job for you, you're going to stick around. And one of the things that business consultants will tell most business owners is that the value of your company increases when you have recurring revenue. So having contracts where people are obligated to pay you longer is going to increase the value of your business. But on the flip side, if you're a company that delivers on your brand promise of whatever the service is, you're typically going to have people stay regardless, right? We have any number of clients at Law Firm Mentor that are with companies that don't require long-term contracts, and they stick around with the company just because it's a lot of work to change marketing companies, right? Somebody has all of your logins, somebody is doing all of the work. You don't understand it at the level where you can easily export it and give it over to someone else. So you don't have a lot of turnover with law firm owners that are with shorter term contracts, at least not for marketing. So I think that's part of the reason why some marketing companies are now moving in the direction of having month to month or shorter term engagements, because they intellectually understand that it makes the lawyer feel better, whether it's mythical or not. It makes them feel better to feel that they're not stuck. And as a result, they will get into a relationship with a marketing company and stick around longer. Okay. So think about it that way. Now, with pay-per-click marketing or Google Ads, right? Google Ads are not the only form of pay-per-click marketing, but they are one of the most common and one of the most popular forms. You can also do pay-per-click marketing on social media sites like Facebook and LinkedIn. But for now, we're talking about pay-per-click and Google Ads to be relatively synonymous for this conversation. When you think about that cost structure, you're going to have two components to consider. You're going to have to consider the monthly management fee, and you're going to have to consider the cost of the actual ad revenue. So if you sign up with someone for Google Ads, you're going to pay that person for their expertise to know what to put and where to put it, right? Are they going to draw people from an ad to your website, or are they going to draw people from an ad to a landing page? How will that landing page be designed? Where will be the call to action? How many calls to action are they going to have on the page? What type of content are they going to have on the page? All of that information, all of that expertise you're paying for, and you're paying for someone to run your campaign. They're going to be not just putting it onto a landing page, not just building your landing page and driving people there with ads, but they're going to be changing it up periodically. You're going to be A/B testing, right? Should I use this color or that color at the top of the page? Should the call to action float down the page, or should it remain static in the top right-hand corner? Should I have multiple opportunities for gated content on the page, or none at all, or maybe one, right? What is the purpose of the ad? Are we going to be altering the purpose of the ad when we're looking for a short-term payoff versus a long-term payoff, right? Because there are people that use ads for the purpose of some level of branding, even if it's just to increase their email marketing list through gated content, as opposed to just call me now for the purpose of hiring right now. So you have to think about that. Now, normally the pay-per-click fee structure is going to include a management fee that can be a flat fee. I have seen that, and we've actually in my law firm worked with a provider that did a flat fee monthly amount. But then there are the more common models of a percentage your ad spend. So if their percentage is 25% and you're spending 10 grand a month on your Google ads, that means that you're paying to Google $10,000 to be able to advertise on their platform. And you're paying by the number of clicks that you get from the ad to your landing page or website, then that 25% is $2,500 a month, right? And that percentage, sometimes it's a flat percentage, sometimes it's variable and with ranges, right? So it can be 15 to 20% for the first $5,000. And then after $5,000 up to $15,000, that percentage can go down, under the idea that the more money you're spending on the ads and the scaled percentage that's being paid to the company, they get a lower percentage, but they get more money because you're spending more money, right? So understand those fee structures going in allows you to create a more realistic budget for how you're going to spend on marketing in your law firm. Now, the thing that's really important, and this is the second major consideration when you're trying to evaluate ROI between SEO and Google Ads, is you want to make sure that you don't get with a lazy agency that is going to simply set it and forget it. Now, This is somewhat controversial to say out loud, but I feel that as a fellow lawyer who has worked with many marketing agencies, some amazing, some not so much, it's really important that we intellectually understand how the value works with a marketing company, right? A marketing company is getting paid a percentage of your ad spend if you are doing Google Ads, right? So again, this is the most common model. There are some that do flat fee, but for the most part, it's the same, right? But you're going to have an issue when the marketing company only receives a capped amount. And I don't mean that they charge you a flat fee. They can have a capped amount even when they are charging you a percentage of ad revenue, because you're going to decide how much ad revenue you're going to spend. They're going to make a recommendation to you, and then they're going to get a percentage of that. Well, keep in mind that with a flat fee, the same way as a law firm has this incentive, so does a marketing company. When I know I'm making the same amount of money, whether I put in 5 hours or 50 hours, the business owner would only want to put in the lower amount of hours, because the business owner receives more money per hour if they are doing less work than if they are spending more time to earn that same amount of money. So why am I telling you this? Well, it's important to understand that the very fact that this structure incentivizes businesses to spend less time does not mean, and I want to be very clear, I'm going to repeat this very emphatically, this does not mean that businesses are inherently going to underwork your file, okay? Just as you flat fee lawyers out there are not inherently working less for a client simply because you have a flat fee. The argument could be made that you're inherently working less for that client and thus underserving them, just like the argument could be made if you're billing them by the hour that you're inherently working more. An unethical person is going to be unethical no matter the business model. Okay. But I'm bringing up this particular issue with talking about Google Ads because a lot of times what happens is lawyers who are not well educated about marketing, they turn themselves over to a marketing company, and the marketing company is really the expert. And so you're in a very vulnerable place if you don't become educated about marketing, which, by the way, that's something that we specialize in here at Law Firm Mentor. We're very proactive in not just sending you out to work with a marketing company, whether it's our marketing division or someone else, but our coaches are very active in working with you to not just tell your marketing company, I want XYZ, but how to hold them accountable and how to have them educate you on what they're doing so that you become a better consumer of that service, whether with them or with someone else. It's important that you do that because what tends to happen is there's a lot to marketing, just like there's a lot to lawyering, right? So if somebody comes into your law firm, there are things that you explain to them, but you don't explain soup to nuts everything that there is about lawyering, right? You're not putting them through law school. So at some point, their ability to hold you accountable is somewhat limited, right? Because there are things that you know that they don't know. And when they have questions, you can give an answer based on your expertise that they may or may not understand, but there's a certain level of confidence and faith that they have to have in you as the service provider. Same thing in the marketing world. So what happens when you give your dollars and your trust over to a marketing company? Well, they start out oftentimes really hitting the ground running, right? They are hustling to make you happy. They want to get you to happy as soon as possible, and they want to start delivering for you as soon as possible. But what often happens is, as their companies grow, they oftentimes have fewer resources to give to you. And then over the course of time, they devote fewer hours per issue on your file because they're getting the same amount of money, right? You're paying them $2,500 a month as an example, whether they put in 1 hour, 5 hours, or 50 hours. So it's in their best interest to give you fewer hours. And in fairness, they should be giving you less hours as they get better at understanding your marketplace, understanding your business, and understanding what to market for you to get the best result. It's important that you understand that it is not inherently unfair that they spend fewer hours with you over time. Just as you as a law firm owner, it's not inherently unfair that a flat fee lawyer spend fewer hours over time, right? It took your expertise to dial in the systems that allowed you to do that. And they're paying for your expertise. They're paying for the outcome. But what tends to happen, because marketing in today's digital landscape is so complex and, more importantly, so dynamic, right? Things are changing all the time. Google's algorithm is changing all the time. What keywords are hitting are changing all the time. How much a keyword is, how popular it is in a given market changes all the time, right? So if your law firm marketing company does a set it and forget it, then you might be doing great when they first institutionalized the 17th iteration of the marketing strategy for your firm. But then they set it and forget it, and things continue to change and your results are going downhill. And you don't pick up on it until you're like, oh crap, I don't have enough clients, right? That could be 1 month. It could be 5 months down the road, right? So of course, this also goes to the importance of tracking and your knowledge as a law firm CEO so that you pick up on changes in your lead flow and changes in your lead flow that are driven by things other than just the cyclicality of your particular practice area. You need to understand that in order to really get the best result from your marketing company. But many marketing companies will do a set it and forget it after it gets to a certain point, which works for as long as it works. But then when it's not working, you have to be the one to catch it, right? And that's where a lot of law firm owners really have challenges. All right. Third area that I really want you to understand when you're trying to evaluate ROI between Google Ads and SEO is you have to recognize that Google Ads are typically what you're going to go to if you need immediate traction versus SEO, which is certainly available to you for traction, but it's typically a slower on-ramp and it is much more commonly used for branding. Now, you may have heard me say earlier, there are people that will use Google Ads for branding, right? Branding in and of itself does not have to stay relegated to SEO. What do I mean by that? Well, you might run ads just to start to seed the market with the fact that you are doing a rebrand, that you are now shifting from being all about collaboration to being all about litigation, or to let the marketplace know that you're now not just a one-stop shop for a particular service. Maybe you have added 2 or 3 different practice areas, right? You can educate the market through ads the same way that you can educate the market through search engine optimization. The difficulty becomes that if you're paying per click for your ads and you set a very aggressive budget, what can happen is oftentimes you will get people clicking for reasons that have nothing to do with wanting to learn more about your particular service. Now, I don't recommend that you start going out and getting Google Ads for branding purposes until you have gotten yourself to a certain place in terms of the consistency and the continuity of your lead flow coming in through not just your digital space, but also your offline space, right? So you and other lawyers on your team should be generating clients, and you should have a high volume of diversity of your various different marketing channels before you spend money on ads for the sole purpose of branding. Okay. But it is a strategy that people use. For most people, for most law firm owners, you're probably not going to go to ads to build your brand. You're probably going to go to ads when you say, oh shit, I need clients, right? You are paying for as immediate traction as you can possibly get by virtue of using ads. So what does that look like? Well, for a lot of us, for a lot of law firm owners, what that looks like is you're paying for a landing page to be built. It's not always a landing page. Sometimes ads will be drawn straight to the website. But oftentimes you're going to have a very specifically branded landing page that's all about a particular topic, right? So you might decide that this month you are going to run a blitz on wills, right? You are trying to get in people who need a simple will. You're doing a special on it. You're driving people to a landing page that's all about that. And you don't want them to be able to click around to get to other parts of your website. You don't want them to get diverted into other areas. You want them to just focus on the thing that you are selling. So a landing page is a way to do that. And it is typically branded very carefully and very closely with your actual brand. So it will look like your website. When you do that, when you spend money in that way, you're trying to get people to say, I have a problem right now. Here's an ad for the thing that I want. I'm clicking to get to a purchase, right? So there is a different languaging, a different messaging that will be used in that type of advertising, in that particular type of marketing, than would be used when you are just trying to get people to your website. Now, that's not to say you don't want people to get to your website and buy, right? John Doe Law Firm might be what someone searches for when they are thinking, it's time for me to get a will. John Doe is someone in the area that I know does wills. I'm searching for John Doe so I can hire him to do a will for me, right? So it's not that you don't use search engine optimization for the same purpose. But again, search engine optimization gets people to your website, and that's where you live online. So that's your house online. That house has many different rooms, which may have many different services, right? You might have on your website marketing that is tailored for people at the low end of the market. You might have a luxury brand marketed on your website. You might have products that are marketed on your website as much as your service of delivering a particular legal service. Right? So that's a different opportunity. Sometimes you have the exact same opportunity pursued at the same time, right? You might start with search engine optimization. You might get a little low, so you might throw a little bit more money into the ad pot. And now with Google Ads, you're going to have people that are in the need to buy right now category, just as people who are on the website or people who are searching are looking to buy right now, and they would get to your website. So there can be overlap. In fact, there usually is overlap because oftentimes search engine optimization becomes something that is as customary and regular as keeping your lights on and keeping your phones ringing, right? You deliver on the search engine optimization side the same way you deliver in the ad side. But just know that when you're looking for immediacy, typically you're going to go to ads. And it's important to understand that because when you're thinking about your ROI, you have to think about the total of how you are spending to achieve the outcome of a new client, right? We consider that the return on marketing spend and the return on ad spend, or ROMs and ROAS, okay? Return on marketing spend is marketing within all of the different areas that you are ultimately marketing in. So you have a return on marketing spend in your Google Ads, you have a return on marketing spend on your website, you have a return on marketing spend on your banner ads, right? But typically you're going to put that in one large category. So we're spending $10,000 a month and we're generating $50,000 a month in new clients on our marketing spend. Very different than when you are spending on particular ads, right? So you have a return on ad spend for your Google ads. You'll have a return on ad spend for your paid newsletters. You'll have a return on ad spend for your print ads. And again, what you're really trying to get to is the segmentation of where you are getting a return and what is the level of return. Now, that doesn't mean that all of your dollars should go to the place that you're getting the highest level of return, because you do want to have a diversification of your marketing plan. But you want to understand those two numbers, the return on marketing spend and the return on ad spend, so that when you are spending money in the area of marketing in your law firm, you're doing so with an educated range of opportunity. Okay? Range of opportunity includes diversification of your marketing, but also includes the amount that you're going to spend, right? Because if you can dial in your marketing strategy in any given place, which you should be looking to do in every place, then at some point you can say, okay, for every dollar I put into this particular marketing bucket, I get $5 out. Then when I need more, I could simply pour in more dollars and expect with reasonable certainty that I will get a 5 times return on that investment. If you don't have that, and most law firms candidly do not, what ends up happening is you put more dollars in on the hope and the prayer, right? Like, let's just shoot our shot and see what we can get. That's what you're aiming to do. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right? So really important when you think about your ROI for Google Ads versus search engine optimization, that you understand how the two are used, how they work together, and where your dollars are going to be most effectively used in your law firm. All right, everyone, you have been listening to another episode of the Crushing Chaos with Law Firm Mentor podcast. I'm Allison Williams, your host. And I forgot to say this earlier, but if you are checking us out on YouTube, please do like, share, and subscribe to this content. We are very happy to be growing our YouTube channel so that we're reaching more law firm owners, but we can only do that with your help and support. So again, thank you for checking us out, and we will see you on the next episode.